Hey Eagle fans, it's EaglefanKarl. This is going to be my quick check-in before the Eagles-Vikings game tomorrow afternoon. I also want to give you a few of my thoughts on the Redskins game since I wasn't able to do a reaction video to that game as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at last week against the Redskins and tomorrow's game against the Vikings. To start with, last week against the Redskins really was a disappointing game from every perspective. And when it comes right down to it, I really blame Doug Peterson and Jim Schwartz. I really think that the game was poorly coached. I think we got out coached, and really there's no excuse for how poorly the team played. And really you have to lay that at the coach's feet. Specifically, the things that bothered me the most, obviously, a lot of people have talked about the fact that they gave Vaitai really no help to begin that game in terms of blocking. And you saw Kerrigan got off to a great start immediately. And I think that that just sort of set the tone for the game. And it just sort of had Carson Wentz on his back heels the whole day. He never really was comfortable, and he looked like a rookie. And that was unfortunate, and it ended up, I think, really sort of setting the tone for the afternoon. The thing that really bothered me the most about it is that was a very predictable problem that would have happened, and I don't know why they didn't have something in place for that sooner. You saw in the fourth quarter they finally did start giving help to Vaitai, using a running back to chip, the defensive end as he was coming in, and it improved the game for us. Carson Wentz was able to get some time and throw the ball down the field and made some nice completions, but by that point it was sort of already too late. And I think that it just really sort of put us in the hole from the get-go, and it really sort of bothered me the way that it took them forever to really make that adjustment, something that seemed very obvious, and something that going into the game, knowing that you're starting a rookie right tackle in his very first game, that would have been a problem that anyone could have seen coming, and they should have had something in place for it already. As it relates to the offense and Doug Peterson, it goes beyond just not giving Vaitai help. When you saw that there was so much pressure, I don't know why they didn't have some other plays called that would have sort of used their pass rush against them. Having Carson Wentz roll out, getting him out in space where he's shown that he can be very effective. So I don't know why they weren't trying to do more of that kind of stuff rather than just having him sit right back there in the pocket where the Redskins could just rush at him all day. So I don't know why they didn't have more of that stuff in the playbook. And then frankly, why they didn't use the running game more. The game was never that much out of hand that they had to really abandon the running game. And there was times that it looked like they should have been running the ball when they were still passing, and it resulted in sacks. I think specifically of a play in the third quarter where it was a 2nd and 3, and in a situation where you thought for sure that's where you're going to run and really try and establish the running game, and they try and pass, it ends up in a sack, and now you're in 3rd and long again. So it really just seemed to be the Eagles with their offense shooting themselves in the foot. I hope Doug Peterson and Carson Wentz both learned a lot from this game, because this is something that if they do learn a lot from it, it can help them down the road. But really, it was frustrating to watch it on Sunday. As it relates to my criticism of Jim Schwartz, it really has to do with the fact that they hardly got any pressure on Kirk Cousins. And if you really look at that game, the thing that really was the difference in terms of the Redskins and the Eagles is that Kirk Cousins had all day to throw the ball, and Carson Wentz was under constant pressure. And you just can't survive as a quarterback in the league when you've got that much pressure on you. Even the best quarterbacks will crumble under that. Whereas you have someone like Kirk Cousins who can just sit back there all day and pick apart our defense. And our secondary, we know, is not the strongest part of our team. So he's going to find matches that are going to be favorable to his guys. So with that, I don't know why Jim Schwartz didn't have more blitzes in his game plan that he could have dialed up. It was clear we weren't getting any pressure, and I think we needed to get pressure on Kirk Cousins to really sort of turn that game. And if we would have, you saw the one time he did get some pressure on him, it resulted in the pick 6. So if we would have gotten more pressure on him, maybe it would have resulted in more bad throws by him and ultimately a very different outcome. So once again, I lay this loss completely at the feet of the two coaches here, because I think game plans on both sides of the ball were just horrible. So where does that leave us for tomorrow's game against the Vikings? Really, when you think about it, I think it's got to be more of the same in terms of what we're looking at. And hopefully the coaches have learned from their mistakes. I think, from the very beginning, Doug Peterson has got to be making sure that he is giving, Vaitai some help for that outside rush. That is because the Vikings pass rush has gotten the third most sacks in the league already, and they've had a bye week where some other teams haven't. So when you look at their production, I think it's really something that we've got to take into consideration, that we've got to make sure we're giving Carson Wentz time, we've got to block for him. But that also gets back to the fact we really need to establish a running game as well. And I really think that that's sort of the way we've got to approach this game, is having a very balanced approach to how we're using the run versus the pass, and we're not asking Carson Wentz to do too much, because this Vikings defense is very good. In fact, when you look at total yards per game, the Vikings defense is second in the league, and they're first in the league when it comes to points per game. So they don't give up much yards, and they don't give up many points either. So it's really going to be sort of a game where we're really going to have to make sure that we're trying to take advantage of every opportunity we have when we have the ball. And if we get it into scoring position, we need to get that ball in the end zone, because the Vikings are not going to be the kind of team that's going to give up prolonged drives that are going to end up resulting in points. So we've got to make sure that we're looking for the opportunity to score touchdowns when we do get in the red zone. And I think we really need to have a balanced approach, because their defense itself is very balanced. Sixth in passing yards, and it's fourth in rushing yards per game. And this isn't a defense that looks at one area of their game to cover for another area. Their whole defense, both running and pass defense, are very good. And we've got to make sure that we are trying to take advantage of opportunities when we do have them. As it relates to the Vikings offense, Sam Bradford has gotten off to a good start, but their offense in general does not really scare you when you look at the stats. They are 30th in yards per game. Now, on the flip side of that, they are 14th in points. So even though they don't move the ball that much, when they do, they score points. And if you look at the run versus pass breakdown as well, that's not that scary either. Passing the ball a little bit better in that they're 25th in passing yardage, but they're 32nd. They're dead last in the league when it comes to rushing yards. So they are having a difficult time moving the ball, and that's something that I think we can really take advantage of in trying to limit how much they're able to move the ball. Because I think our defense, if they play the way they were playing earlier in the season, I really think we can make a difference in this game and really sort of shut their offense down. Because if we're going to win this game, it's going to be a very low-scoring game, and it's going to have to. Our defense is really going to have to keep them off the scoreboard. One final thought when it comes to looking at this game in terms of statistics, and that is the turnover ratio for both these teams. These teams are both really good in getting takeaways but not giving them up. The Vikings are actually first in the league in turnover differential, and the Eagles are third in turnover differential. So you can see that the Eagles and the Vikings both are usually pretty good at taking care of the ball and also getting turnovers as well. So if we're going to win this game, we've got to make sure we win that turnover battle. If we can force some Vikings turnovers, I think we can win this game. On paper, you would say, looking at the breakdown, that we shouldn't win this game. But I think if we win that turnover battle, that is something that we can take advantage of and actually win the game. So I think the Eagles can win this game if they do that. If the defense is able to hold their offense in check just enough and our offense scores just enough points, I think, if either one of these teams gets to maybe 17, 20 points, that will probably be enough, the way both of these defenses should be able to play against the offenses in this game, because both the defenses, I think, are better than the offenses. So if one team can get to 17 or 20 points, I think that's going to be the team that's going to end up winning this game. It's for that reason that I am going to go ahead and pick the Eagles in this game. I know, like I said, on paper, there's no reason why the Eagles should win this game. So just call it a hunch in this respect. I think we're going to bounce back. Early on when I was looking at this game, I would have thought this was a loss, but because of the way the last 2 weeks went down, I think the Eagles are going to be sort of desperate. They're really going to want to come out and play well. They're at home, so I think all those things together are going to lead to a situation where I think the Eagles will actually find a way to win this game. It's for that reason I am going to go ahead and pick the Eagles to win this game 17-13. Let me know below, what's your prediction for this game? Do you think the Eagles have a shot at winning this? If so, let me know what you think the score is going to be. Even if you think the Eagles are going to lose, let me know what you think the score is going to be. After the game, I'll go ahead and check in. Until then, fly Eagles fly.